So I'm going to talk to you about NYCHA's capital needs. And the capital needs of NYCHA are sort of a little invisible in some ways compared to the operating needs which you hear about every day. NYCHA, as you've heard, houses an enormous proportion of the city's population, and it's an enormous physical plant. There's basically, I'm going to round all these numbers to make it a little easier to deal with, but it's 180,000 apartments. They're spread out in 2,600 buildings in 330 developments around the city. So it's an enormous asset. And the underfunding of its capital needs dwarfs the underfunding of its operating needs. NYCHA accumulates capital need, basically capital investments deferred at a rate of roughly $3 million every day. And if you were to bring NYCHA's portfolio into a state of good repair over 5 years, you'd spend about $17 billion. So the level of need for capital investment to keep this resource in the city is beyond the local resources. It's not coming from the federal government, and it's certainly, there's no tax increase. I mean, maybe you can fund pre-K, but I don't think you can fund $17 billion in the next 5 years for NYCHA. So what can you do? What we've looked at is to try to leverage one very specific asset of NYCHA, basically vacant land. NYCHA in Manhattan alone has roughly 30 million square feet of unused development rights. In other words, the sites where NYCHA developments are located are entitled under zoning to put another 30 million square feet. Much of that is very difficult to use and wouldn't be practical. But we've taken a look at trying to start by seeing on a sort of a small, although not small by development scale, but small for NYCHA, small scale, how can we address NYCHA's capital needs through the use of its own land? We ultimately chose 14 parcels of land on 8 NYCHA developments in Manhattan. They're entitled for about 4 million square feet of residential development and about 500,000 square feet of community facility development. We would propose that 3,200 market rate apartments and 800 permanently affordable apartments would be built among those sites, and a single large community facility building at one site. When it's all said and done, on the 8 developments, you'd have added 4,000 apartments to 10,500 that exist there today. The 10,500 would remain permanently affordable. Another 800 would be added. You'd have 11,300 permanently affordable apartments. You'd have 3,200 new market rate rental apartments. And we estimate that the ground rent from those buildings, no NYCHA money would be used to build any of these. It'd all be completely privately funded, that they would actually support the almost $900 million of capital need that just those 8 developments have through a predicted ground rent of $30 to $50 million a year. There's also another wonderful opportunity, which it sort of fixes, it enables you to begin to fix a planning problem. A planning problem is that NYCHA's developments were largely built as so-called towers in the park. And they're large, they're numerous towers separated from streets by large empty areas and often parking lots, surface parking lots. And we looked for only sites that were located on the perimeter with a strong preference for parking lots. I think 11 of the 14 sites are, in fact, surface parking lots, where we could actually put new buildings that begin to bring back the street wall, begin to restore sort of the feeling of the grid to the NYCHA neighborhoods. Along with that, we're going to seek to make the campuses more secure and also to provide a comprehensive backup power system for the entire NYCHA campus for critical functions during power losses. This is one of the parcels that we've included in this request for expressions of interest, which was issued in August. and to which we will be receiving responses next month, the middle of next month. And you can see this is a surface parking lot at Douglas Houses along Manhattan Avenue. There's a rehabilitated NYCHA building, which is at the, I guess, on the right-hand side, and then the former street bed, and then over a parking lot that's over a block long. And the nearest NYCHA building is many feet behind the parking lot there. And so what we propose there is that site accept the remaining zoning floor area that's available on that block, which would provide for a building of about 300 apartments. And we've done a very rough rendering of what that would do. And basically, we would seek to replace the parking by hypothetically some sort of reconstruction of the missing 102nd Street there, which would go through the development. And interestingly, in almost every case where these super blocks exist, utilities of one sort or another were located in the old streets, so you still have that space available. You can sort of restore pathways through the development on the old streets, and the building, the sites are sufficiently spread out so that the existing buildings are all more than a significant distance away, essentially more than as if they were across a conventional New York street. So you're able to introduce a new building, create some ground level retail and some street life, and generate for NYCHA the money it needs to restore all of those apartments. Thank you.